things.
Get off this property. Get off the property. It's enough.
And in the synagogues ye shall be beaten, and ye shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them, for a testimony against them, for a testimony against them. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
And many chiefs of the stars shall transgress the order prescribed, and these shall alter their orbits and tasks, and not appear at the seasons prescribed to them. And the whole order of the stars shall be concealed from the sinners, and the thoughts of those on the earth shall err concerning them. And they shall be altered from all their ways, yea, they shall err and take them to be gods. And evil shall be multiplied upon them, and punishment shall come upon them so as to destroy all.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven.
I think both Jeff and I believe that it's important for the future to be a spacefaring civilization and ultimately be out there among the stars. And I think that's the exciting, inspiring future that I think certainly people in this room want, and anyone.
I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit.
When we could resume the dream of Apollo. The goal of SpaceX really was to make as much progress as possible to advance rocket technology to the point where hopefully we can establish a colony on Mars. Dream of Apollo.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
Apollo.
Apollyon.
Apollo.
Apollyon.
And we could resume the dream of Apollo.
The angel of the bottomless pit.
Apollo.
NASA is now embarking on a bold new program called Artemis. Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo,
which is the angel of the bottomless pit,
and the goddess of the moon in Greek mythology.
50 years ago, we went to the moon. We called it Apollo.
What many people don't know is that Apollo had a twin.
She was a woman named Artemis,
goddess of the moon.
It is the stated policy
of this administration and the United States of America to return American astronauts to the moon within the next 5 years.
Our agency, NASA, is going to do everything in its power to meet that vision.
We're proud of what we do here, so come join NASA as we go forward to the moon and on to Mars.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt.
So deep it almost has a texture when you look at it. The weird part about it is space is so incredibly black, so incredibly dark. It's a bottomless pit of deep black, almost...
Even darkness which may be felt.
So deep it almost has a texture when you look at it.
And darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Wandering stars.
Raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame. Wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever.
For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly. And these are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever.
When you come in from a spacewalk, you're surrounded by the emptiness of space. It's sort of like the opposite of air. There's nothing there at all. When you quickly repressurize the hatch and you open up the hatch and you smell, what is that lingering smell from a place that used to be exposed to space? The smell in there is a little bit like that trace of a smell of gunpowder or burnt steak, or sort of like brimstone, like a witch has just been there. It's a cool, lingering trace of a smell. I think what it really is, brimstone, like sort of that metallic gunpowder-fired smell, that a witch has just been there. In truth, it smells a little bit like a witch has just been there. It smells a little bit like a burnt steak. Brimstone. It smells a little bit like a burnt steak. Brimstone. Like a witch has just been there. It's a witch has just been there. It's a witch has just been there. It's a witch has just been there. Brimstone. True. True.
Go forth and descend through all the heavens, and thou wilt descend to the firmament, in that world, to the angel in Sheol thou wilt descend. Heavens, and thou wilt descend to the firmament, in that world, to the angel in Sheol thou wilt descend. Heavens, and thou wilt descend to the firmament, in that world, to the angel in Sheol thou wilt descend. And we ascended to the firmament, I and he, and there I saw Samael and his hosts, and there was great fighting therein, and the angels of Satan were envying one another. And we ascended to the firmament, I and he, and there I saw Samael and his hosts, and there was great fighting therein, and the angels of Satan were envying one another.
For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. Not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment.
And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains unto darkness, unto the judgment of the great day. He hath reserved in everlasting chains. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains unto darkness, unto the judgment of the great day.
But cast them down to hell.
Raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame. Wandering stars, wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. And the blackness of darkness forever. Wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever.
and the entire law of the stars will be closed to the sinners, and the thoughts of those who dwell upon the earth will go astray over them, and they will turn from all their ways and will go astray, and will think them gods.
Wandering stars.
And I saw a burning fire in what was in all the mountains, and I saw a place there beyond the great earth. There the waters gathered together, and I saw a deep chasm of the earth with pillars of heavenly fire, and I saw among them fiery pillars of heaven, which were falling, and as regards both height and depth they were immeasurable.
But cast them down to hell.
And beyond this chasm I saw a place, and it had neither the sky above it, nor the foundation of earth below it. There was no water on it, and no birds, but it was a desert place. And a terrible thing I saw there, 7 stars like great burning mountains.
Wandering stars.
And like a spirit questioning me, the angel said, "This is the place of the end of heaven and earth. This is the prison for the stars of heaven and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire, these are the ones which transgressed the command of the Lord."
Wandering stars.
From the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their proper times. And he was angry with them, and bound them until the time of the consummation of their sin, in the year of mystery. And Uriel said to me, "The spirits of the angels who were promiscuous with women will stand here."
Blackness of darkness.
And they, assuming many forms,
wandering stars,
made men unclean, and will lead men astray, so that they sacrifice to demons as gods.
Wandering stars.
And they will stand there until the great judgment, on which they will be judged, so that an end will be made of them.
Whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. The blackness of darkness forever. Well, I believe he's clearly talking about hell. Because in the Bible, there's a place where there's darkness forever. And it's called hell and the lake of fire.
And realize that we're on this very special place, and this precious island in this abyss of darkness, 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 in this abyss of darkness.
The weird part about it is space is so incredibly black, so incredibly dark. It's a bottomless pit of deep black. Almost so deep it almost has a texture when you look at it.
Wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is. And the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition.